Well, we're back with more custom shirts. That is correct, we are back with another batch of custom football shirts for the 24-25 Premier League season. As I did in my last video, I've created 20 new shirts, these are away shirts, for the teams that are in the Premier League this season. And, you know, I think I've done a pretty decent job, all things considered. Just like to mention, at the start of the video, if there are any teams you'd like to see me make custom shirts for, then please leave them down in the comments down below. And I might do a little custom shirts that you guys want to see in the future. So it could be any team from any league, as long as they have, you know, some shirts around the internet that I can look at to take inspiration from. But other than that, you know, just go wild. I prefer clubs over national teams. If you want to do a national team, that's not a problem as well. So yeah, any ideas, leave them in the comments down below. And let's jump into those custom away shirts. Yes, so the first shirt, as always, we go in alphabetical order, is Arsenal. And I went back to blue for Arsenal. So my main inspiration was the 04-06 away shirt. And, you know, I've changed it a fair bit. I think it's fair to say. I'm a real sucker for when a team in red switches to a blue colourway. So that's what I decided to do here. I took the yellow secondary colour from those shirts as well. And, you know, just blue and yellow is a very, very solid colour scheme. You know, just ask the Swedes. They love it over there. I've utilised the Canon logo that Arsenal seem to be using moving forward and using this season as well. And I centralised that along with the Adidas logo. And I just couldn't help myself. I had to add a retro style collar with a faint blue zigzag pattern on the body of the shirt to top it all off. I think I've created a very solid shirt here. As I mentioned, blue and yellow, very solid colour scheme. And I think I've created a pretty good Arsenal shirt. And, you know, I'd like to see Arsenal have a blue away shirt at some point in the near future. I think that'd be nice. And then move on to Aston Villa. Moving on to Villa, and I opted to use their classic away colour scheme, but with a design I've not seen them use in the past. It seems me and the team Adidas behind Villa's kit this season both took inspiration from the 76-81 away kit for the collar and cuff design, and for a good reason, because it looks quite nice. I opted for alternating claret and blue pinstripes, and then two thicker claret and blue stripes behind a claret and white badge, which I think looks very nice. I'm not sure what you call that design, like, you know, if it goes sideways it's a sash. What's the one down there? I'm really not sure, but whatever the design is, I enjoy it. I also went for those, you know, the front panels they have on the new Adidas templates. I went for an alternating set of those, one in blue, one in claret, to add some extra sauce to the design in my opinion. It's a nice blend of classic and modern, in my own humble opinion of course. And then move on to AFC Bournemouth. Now with Bournemouth, I wanted to do something that's pretty out there for them. This design was initially inspired by their 2012 to 2013 away shirt, but I might have gotten a bit carried away with this design. I took the sash design and ran with it, to be honest. I switched up the colour scheme, changing the navy to black. As we all know, black is the design cheat code. I went with a wavy pattern throughout the design to represent the waves of the south coast. I also wanted to use their new retro badge on the kit, as I felt it would have worked better than the normal badge, but with a nod to their old badge being present on the back of the shirt. Again, BJ88 is an absolutely terrible sponsor, but I put it in blue, and I think that was the best thing I could have done with that sponsor. Why have you used to sponsor Bournemouth? I will never know. But all in all, I think I created a very solid away shirt for Bournemouth, and one that they've not really used. It's quite a new sort of design. I know it took inspiration from a past design, but still quite new as well, if you get what I'm saying. And then we move on to Brentford. Is this Inter Milan, or is this Brentford? For Brentford, I wanted to create a shirt that just inverts their normal colours of red and white. And to be fair, this is not a colour scheme they've used before from what I can tell. I opted to bring back their retro badge that they'd updated and used on their 22-24 away shirt, which I think slotted perfectly between the stripes. I added some white and light blue elements to the shirt, as I felt the darker blue and black was a bit too overpowering on this kit, and the lighter blue elements just lighten up a bit. Again, the sponsor is bad, but there's nothing I can do about that, to be honest. I kept the B, but added it to the back, as Brentford done on many of their shirts recently. You can't go on the black and blue kit. I mean, this is one of Forest's greatest shirts in my opinion, and I think, you know, Brentford just getting on the party with a nice black and blue striped shirt. It's class. I may be biased because I like the colour scheme and I like the design, but it's class. And then we move on to Brighton. It looks like me and the Brighton designers had the same ideas too, both opting to use yellow base, but I opted to use blue instead of navy. I was mostly inspired by their 2021 away shirt, which in turn looks to be inspired by the 87-89 away shirt, which I think is lovely. I mean, I think at least. They look very similar, and I couldn't find much information surrounding the 2021 shirt, but just looking at the two side by side, they look, well, one looks inspired by the other, that's all I'll say. I took the stripes from that design and implemented a wave-like graphic as a reference to the seas upon which Brighton and Hove sit. I centralised the club crest and Nike tick within the central stripe as well, and also included a retro B&H AFC logo on the back central stripe. I really love these like old style writing of the club logos, like loads of clubs have had them in their past. Forest unfortunately hasn't. Yeah, whatever style you'd call that, I'm a big fan, and I wouldn't mind seeing teams coming back to that design. I think West Brom did either this season or last season and looked class, so yeah, more of that please. I topped it all off with a colour matched sponsor, which is something that other Brighton shirts have not managed to do. All in all, very solid shirt, Brighton and yellow. It's a solid colour scheme, can't really go wrong. And then we move on to Chelsea. For Chelsea, I took a design they'd used back in 2010-11, but made my own alterations to the design to make it look lovely. I took the main design aspects from that original shirt, that being the line design across the front of the shirt, but I opted to use a more traditional Chelsea away colour scheme of white and blue. I mean, is it a traditional colour scheme for Chelsea? Because they've used a lot on away shirts and a lot on third shirts as well. So, all in all, I think it's a secondary Chelsea colour scheme. It's one that I like, and I think their away shirts should always be in white and blue. But hey, I'm just a Forest fan. What do I know? I'm quite happy with the colour scheme that I chose for this shirt, as I feel the two blues work well with the white. I had a slight gradient at the bottom of the shirt that lined up with the stripes gradient as well. I had a retro style collar and then topped everything off by adding the Chelsea Lion plus 2 stars on the back of the kit to represent their 2 European Cups. All in all, I think I've created a very clean shirt. Big fan of this. If I was a Chelsea fan, that'd be going straight in my basket. But, you know, I'm not. Still though, things are pretty clean kit. And then we go to Crystal Palace, and it's back to black with Palace and their away shirt, taking inspiration from their 13-14 away shirt and Amy Winehouse. I'm quite a fan of the sash design, and Palace are one of the few teams that use the sash design regularly. I've taken the red and blue from their home colours and used those colours in the sash design as well, keeping the rest of the shirt largely plain, save for an abstract design on the black elements of the shirt. Very faint, but it's there. I tried my best to make the sponsor work with the shirt, but again, it's just a bad sponsor in general. It's really hard to make these things work. I think I did the best I could with it though. I think. It's still not great. I kept the badges white, including the SE25 emblazoned on the back of the neck. Quite solid if I do say so myself. Big fan of what I created. I think it's clean, but it works for Palace. And then move on to Everton, or is this Bournemouth? I've taken inspiration from a classic Everton shirt, notably the 92-94 away shirt. It's not a design the Toffees have revisited in some years. They kind of did last season, so I wanted to bring it back, also make some alterations to this new version. Now, I know a red Everton shirt may not go down well, given their Scouse rivals also play in red, but I think the black stripes alleviate that comparison somewhat. I've already mentioned that I like when teams in red play in blue, and I like the opposite too, when teams in blue play in red. I spiced up the shirt by implementing a dotted design into the black stripes, whilst having this diamond pattern in the red. As a callback to the retro shirt, I also had a retro collar to complete the design. I opted to use the minimalist Rupert's Tower design as the badge, as I feel that fits much better in the stripe, and I think it looks better this way in my opinion. The normal Everton badge didn't really do it for me, whereas I think this simplified Rupert's Tower looks good, and Everton have used on away shirts in the past, so, you know, it's fair game, really. And then we move on to Fulham. It's another red and black shirt and another retro throwback, this time for the Cottagers. This design was inspired by the 94-96 away shirt. Fulham are no stranger to a red and black kit, and I've used half and half designs a few more times throughout their history, but my main inspiration was those kits from the 90s. I flipped the colours from the original design, but kept the sleeves the same colour as their half of the shirt. I just made the collar half and half, but used the opposite colour to the half the collar was on, if that makes sense. I mean, you can see what I'm describing, man. I think it makes sense pretty decently, at least. I kept the white accents on the shirt to tie in the crest, the Adidas logo, and the sponsor, as well as just adding a bit more brightness to the shirt. I topped off the design by adding Fulham's first ever crest on the back of the neck. I think it looks sick, and the collars mostly work as well. Honestly, Fulham, just bring back that design, man. That is a sick crest. Do it for like a third shirt or something, man. That'd be sick. Like an Adidas Originals, you know? Hit my line, guys. Hit my line. I'm full of ideas. But yeah, really happy with how this shirt turned out. I think it's one of my favourites of the set. Okay, and taking a break from the black kits, I've given Ipswich this white number. In many aspects, this is a flip of the home shirt I designed for them, making the body white and sleeves blue, with the check design found in the sleeves. I also used pinstripes again, as I think Ipswich and pinstripes are just a match made in heaven. I think I've said this before, but when I see an Ipswich shirt, if it doesn't have pinstripes, what's going on? I think they suit pinstripes down to a T for some reason. I don't know why, but that's just how I see them. I centralised the crest and the Umbro logo along that central stripe, which is something we haven't seen on Ipswich shirt since the late 90s. or early 2000s if you count goalkeeper shirts. As far as I can tell, it's never been centralised on an away shirt though. I made their crest red and white to match the body of the shirt and the stripes. I also kept their 3 stars but moved them back to the back of the shirt, making 1 blue and 2 red, once again to represent that Europa League title. I made the Ed Sheeran sponsor red as well, so that it better fits in with the shirt's design, and gave it a white outline to better separate it from those red stripes. All in all, I think I created a very solid Ipswich shirt here, maybe better than the home one. Jury's out on that one, but I'm a big fan of what I've created anyway. Okay, and continuing with the theme of white shirts, and we've got Leicester City. Leicester are no strangers to a white shirt, and have had many throughout their long history. This shirt design isn't based off any specific shirt they've had recently, or in the past. I did aim to give it a retro feel nonetheless. I went for a white base with a purple secondary colour, as these colours look so nice together. Leicester aren't really a team that changes up their badge much, but I felt like using just the fox head worked really well on this shirt, and I think it's much better than the standard round badge. I added this faint zigzag lightning design to the body of the shirt. It's a simple design, but I feel it gives a really nice touch to the shirt. I also added purple panels to the front and side to break up the white and not make it too overpowering. I also added a faint design within the sleeves, which I think looks quite nice as well. All topped off with a purple and white collar cuffs combo. My gosh, what a lovely shirt for Leicester. It's just a real shame about that sponsor. It's one of the worst in the Premier League, not even going to cap. One of the worst I've seen. And the white shirts continue with Liverpool. Sort of. I've aimed to bring back the classic quadrant design in a more traditional style to Liverpool's own recent attempts, combining it with some stripes to create this unique take on a very classic design. It's mainly inspired by the iconic 95-96 away shirt, but I also want to implement a design that contains the iconic liverbird in more places than just the badge. I used a combination of their modern and retro badge repeated throughout stripes to give some uniformity to these patterns. I left the central line blank so that the patterns didn't cross over between the green and white sections of the shirt, and I also alternated the sleeves as well, giving them the opposite colour to the section they're connected to. From the front at least. On the other side it looks pretty normal. I've really wanted to work green into a Liverpool away shirt, and I think the design does that well. It was inspired by one of the pre-match, I believe, or one of the training shirts Liverpool have this season as well, which has got like a bunch of logos just all over it. I think it's a very nice design, so I want to do something similar here as well. I think all in all, I've created a very solid Liverpool shirt, if I do say so myself. Okay, and now it's back to black with Manchester City. Man City normally get some quite nice looking shirts, and are no strangers to a black kit. Most recently having that lightning number last season, which I was a big fan of, to be fair. I opted to use a near black base, using black as a secondary colour alongside a bright yellow accent colour. Now I know I've not been the biggest fan of these off-black, off-white shirts in recent years, especially the Liverpool shirt this season, but I think it just worked better with this design because of the black wavy pattern I've implemented. I used the black wave design across the shirt to represent the maritime roots of Manchester, namely the Manchester Ship Canal and their trading prowess during the Industrial Revolution. I also put the ship from the badge on the back of the kit too, and it almost looks like it's riding that wave. I added a retro style collar with yellow accents, which nicely pairs with the cuffs. It's one of my more simple shirts, I guess you could say, but I think it looks quite nice as well. Though, come to think of it, the shirt could be seen as representing their oil money. Very funny coincidence that. It was a legit coincidence. I only thought of that after the fact, I promise. And then back to white as we have the Citizens' rivals, Manchester United. This shirt doesn't focus on the city's history as much, but does take design cues from some retro United shirts, namely the 75-80, the 96-97 and 97-99 away shirts, combining and adapting elements of all three into this shirt. It's a white base, like all three shirts mentioned, with automated stripes throughout the design, but the main feature is that red, white and black stripe down the centre, on which I've placed the crest, Adidas logo and the sponsor. Within those three stripes, I've used the trident from their badge, as I think that's a very cool design element and should be featured on more United shirts. It's just like a pattern, you know, just smack it about everywhere, man, it looks cool. Use it. But yeah, I think it's a very cool design element in its own right and should get more use in the future. The badge is more of a retro style one, placing it in a circle, much like the 96-97 away shirt, but it's still their modern badge, just smaller and in a circle. But really happy with what I've created nonetheless. I think it's a very interesting take on a United shirt, but something I think I've done well, if I do say so myself, of course. Really happy with what I've created for United, even if I hate them. Well, hate may be a strong word, I just don't like them. And then we move on to Newcastle United, where I've taken a break from black and white kits, as I've cooked up this very interesting Newcastle number, and it's probably one of the most controversial kits I've created here today. It was inspired by their 97-98 away shirt, which is not a colour scheme Newcastle revisited since. And I don't know why, because it's interesting, but it's a very nice colour scheme in my opinion. I took the main design elements from that shirt, but moved and odd things around for this modern iteration. I made the base colour a bit brighter, make it more of a blue than a purple, with a wavy style pattern to represent the River Tyne that runs through Newcastle. I put the Newcastle badge in a shield, which has been aligned down the middle of those two stripes, which I moved from the left to the right, if I'm correct. You'll see what I mean. You can see what I mean. I also coloured the Newcastle badge orange so that it better fits in with the shirt's overall design. I'm happy with the design, but I think it's very much a Marmite shirt that I can see a lot of people not being a fan of, but personally, I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's funky. And Newcastle will be bold for doing something like this in the Premier League. But they should. They definitely should. Okay, that's enough colour now as we move on to Nottingham Forest and we're back to the white shirts. It's back to a much sought after colour scheme, as I know many Forest fans would love another red and white shirt. I mean, our shirts are normally red and white, but white and red would be a better way of describing that, I think. But anyway, you can see what I mean. And honestly, I'm right there with them. So that's what I did. You know, I've got that power, I'll create it. The shirt takes inspiration from our 1415 away shirt, which I've made a few adjustments to bring it into the modern era. What pairs better with pinstripes than a retro collar, which I've adorned with a wave pattern similar to the one found on our badge. Also using that pattern on the cuffs as well. I centralised the crest and Adidas logo in the centre as well, nestled between two stripes. I think they look very snug there. I finalised everything with a sword pattern within the white elements of the shirt, which is reference to some of the architecture of the city round. I topped it all off with the Jolly Forester on the back of the kit, which was the club's first ever badge. And I say we're bringing back, you know. Third shirt next season, bring back the Forester, slap him on there. Why wouldn't you want to own a shirt? Very kind fella. Okay, that's enough white shirts. We come back to coloured kits now with Southampton. And honestly, this is probably one of my favourites. It's Southampton's away shirt. The shirt is loosely based on the 80-85 and 85-87 away shirts, but it's been changed quite a bit from those original designs. Now, I know the Saints' fierce rivals, Pompey, also play in blue, but much like the Everton situation, they've used these colours in the past, and to be real, this kit looks nothing like a Pompey shirt, so it's okay lads, you can put the pitchforks down, you will not get mistaken for Portsmouth, I promise. As I'm just now noticing as well, I've gone with another sea or water themed design for a team that plays on the south coast, but I think this is best of a lot to be fair. I really like how the blue pattern looks on this shirt, and I think it works well with the rest of the shirt I've designed as well. It adds some nice design to what would have been an otherwise very plain shirt. The Rollbit sponsor isn't great, but I did my best with what I've been given. Now, unlike Southampton have in real life, I've opted to make it all one colour instead of having that yellow O, which looks a bit off on some of their shirts this season, and looked very off on this shirt as well. It looks a little better this way, I think. I mean, it's a terrible sponsor, but this is the best I could do, and, you know, just not looking at the sponsor, it's a really good shirt. And like I said, I think it's one of my favourites. And then move on to Tottenham Hotspur. Moving on to Spurs now, and I think this is another one of my favourite creations. It was based on the iconic 2018-19 third shirt, in which Spurs made their first ever Champions League final, with some adaptations and alterations to make it its own shirt in its own right. I used the badge that Tottenham have received on this season's third shirt, as I think it looks class. Now, when I was making these shirts, we'd only see leaks, but from what I could see, that badge looked phenomenal, and now that I've seen it in real life, class. Very, very class. I'm a fan of a logo in a shield, as you've probably seen in a few of my shirt designs this time, and this new Spurs badge has all of that. I kept the shirt green, making use of two shades, very similar to their 18-19 shirt, and added white as an accent colour, with the badge, Nike tick and sponsor all being in white. I was keeping in the theme of a retro badge by using a retro collar as well, with some added white stripes to match the cuffs. I went with this cloudy graphic on the shirt to add a bit of an extra design element to the kit alongside the pinstripes, and I think I did a good job. I also centralised the badge and tick between those two central stripes to really tidy it up a bit. Looks phenomenal in my opinion, of course, but I'm very proud of it, you know. Spurs could win a trophy. It'd be like trophy for nicest looking kit, but it'd be a trophy at least. Back to black now with West Ham, and I've gone with this very classy number. West Ham are no strangers to having a black kit, and they often look very, very nice to be fair to them. This shirt wasn't inspired by a specific shirt itself, but I took multiple elements from previous Hammers shirts to create this design. The main source of inspiration is the lovely 2021 third shirt, but the inspiration was very, very loose, only taking the gold and black colours from it. I'm a fan of how Umbro makes their shirts and how they include the diamond design in many of their shirt designs, so I opted to use something similar here. I opted to use the Umbro diamond with the hammers crossed hammers in the centre to create this very interesting pattern design. I had a wavy graphic to break up the pattern design and to reference the waterways surrounding the London Stadium. Ding ding ding, we got another water reference on a shirt, boys. Another water reference on a shirt. What's that, like 5, 6 this this season. Who knows? I don't know why that was such a big design element for me this season, but you know, I just like it, man. I mean, my favourite painting is the Great Wave of Kanagawa, so maybe I just love waves. I used maroon and gold colours as a secondary and tertiary colours, which create a very classy looking shirt. I might have gone a bit overboard with the crossed hammers, as I've adorned the collar and the cuffs with them, as well as an icon on the back of the shirt as well. But it's just a very cool icon, and you know, hammers, they have a cheat code there, really. The badge and umbrella logo also look very, very cool in this colour scheme. And it even makes the sponsor look a bit serviceable. You know, if it was in white, like I think they've done this season, that'd be shite. But in maroon, it looks alright, looks decent. And finally, Wolves. Sudo have impressed me this season and are a very hard act to follow, but I've tried my best with another black shirt. Well, almost black. I know I've been against these near black shirts in the past, but I think it works well here. I've opted to use just the Wolves head as the badge and centered it between the two stripes they sit alongside, as also done with the Sudo logo. I wanted to spice things up a bit, so with triple coloured cuffs and collar, adding a bit of white to brighten up the kit a bit. There wasn't much thought behind this shirt design, other than I just wanted to make a kit that looks nice. You know, it's no reference to Wolves as an area, it's no reference to Wolverhampton as an area, or like their stadium or anything. I just thought it looked neat, to be honest. Just that not everything needs to be inspired. Sometimes it can just look cool, and I think this does just that. I also implemented the eyes of their badge on the back of the kit, as I think that's a very cool design element that Wolves should lean into a bit more. The sponsor isn't great, but again, I couldn't really do much about that. That's who Wolves have chose to sponsor the front of their shirts this season, and it looks shite, but that's on them. All in all though, I think it's a very nice solid shirt. I'm pretty happy with what I've created here. That's it, those are my away shirts for the 24-25 Premier League season. Don't want to toot my own horn, but these are some very solid designs, so if any kit manufacturers are watching these videos, you know, hit me up. I'll happily work and create shirts for you, because that sounds like the perfect job, I'm not gonna lie. What was your favourite? Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you guys think of these shirt designs I've created. I know some of them are quite out there and probably not be enjoyed by many fans, but they're my own personal taste. I know my personal taste in football shirts is a bit skewed, so I'll hold my hands up there. You know, they might not be the best designs if you're a fan of the club, but as a neutral for many of these clubs, I think they're nice shirts and I think they look pretty cool. I've been O2GT. Hope you have a brilliant rest of your day. Again, comment any team you'd like to see me make custom shirts about in the future, and I might just do that. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.